2, 3, 4, 5, let's go! Beaming to you from the Plastic Microphone Studios deep in the heart of Cajun country. This is Fave Five from Fans. I'm your host, Jamie Ray, and I'd like to thank you for joining us. I know that you could do anything with your time. You could crochet, you could go out and canoe, you could, I don't know, go to the mall, but you chose to listen to us. And for that, I thank you. We have got a very special episode all about, well, you know what? I'm going to let my guest explain what it's about. We have returning ROM-Pal Lee Seitz.
Oh, you did it again.
Now you have to wonder, am I doing it on purpose or am I doing it by mistake?
I wouldn't put it past you.
Lee Seitz to explain to us about this episode of Fave Five. Lee, welcome back.
Oh, hi. Good to be back.
Feels like we just talked.
It does. I know it's probably been a few weeks since my last time I was on, but it feels like it's only been a couple days.
I know it, or even just like 10 minutes ago.
Well, yeah, maybe.
So, but you know, that's just how the magical world of radio works. So, Lee, this was your idea. So, tell us what this episode is going to be about, and then maybe explain a little bit about your criteria.
Oh, well. I know what my criteria. I know what my half is. I'm not sure what your half was, but anyway, we are going to discuss basically ROM cameos, by which I mean appearances of ROM outside of his own book. He did that, believe it or not. He was a licensed property, but they snuck him in a few places. Actually, companies snuck him in that weren't even Marvel. Snuck ROM in places. And there is actually a whole list, which is probably not quite up to date on my website, ROM Spaceknight Revisited. Google it, and if you encounter any dead links in that, they're there. I haven't fixed them. My ISP did stuff, and I haven't fixed it all. Yeah.
Oh, you get an ointment for that.
We won't. Oh, I wish. We won't get into that. But anyway, so if you go to the website, you will see that I have one list. I have a list, the Hopeless Completist checklist of ROM appearances, which is everything. But to make it more manageable, sorry, do you have something?
No. Okay. I'm just going to say it's everything.
Yeah. To make it more manageable, I broke it up into categories. And one of the main ones is there are appearances that were in his chronology, meaning this is an official appearance. He was in this book, even though he's in the background over there. And if you blink, you miss him. It's still part of his chronology.
Right.
And then I have cameos, which are, you see ROM, but it wasn't really ROM, or, or what was the other thing? Or maybe he's on a cover and he's not in the comic. That happened a couple of times. Avengers. Anyway, so that's the difference between cameos and appearances on my website. For this list, I'm not using that definition. What I'm doing is I'm picking books where either ROM is on the cover, but he's not inside, or vice versa. He's not on the cover, but he's inside. So basically what I've done is I've eliminated Power Man and Iron Fist number 73, Marvel 2-in-1 number 99, and Hulk number 296, because he's on the cover of all three of those, and he's a major part of all those stories. So that was my criteria.
Okay. So my criteria was just that he's in it in any way, shape, or form. And
Okay.
it's not ROM 1 through 75 or annuals 1 through 4.
Okay.
So I gave myself, which is weird because I gave myself a little more latitude than you gave yourself. I'm going to be interested. I know we're going to have some crossover, but I don't know. We're going to see. We're going to see.
I have a prediction I'll share after we do honorable mentions.
Okay. That's good. Watch out, Lee. There's a cat behind you.
Just one.
Just one. All right. Well, so as you just said, you do have some honorable mentions, at least one. I also have an honorable mention or two, actually.
I have two.
If you are ready, I'm ready to just soar right into these lists. So tell us about ROM the Spaceknight's appearances outside of his own cup.
All right. So my first honorable mention is Action Comics number 762. Are you familiar with this one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so written by Joe Kelly, pencils by Germán Garcia and Kino, inks by Joe Rubinstein. Joe Rubinstein, who inked the ROM number 1 cover.
Over
Frank
pencils?
Miller.
That's right. Young cub artist Frank Miller.
Yeah, that new guy, Frank Miller. And let's see, colors by Glenn Whitmore and Wildstorm Effects, and lettering by Eddie Berganza, I guess. Anyway, so you're like, wait, ROM was in a DC book? Well, what? Not exactly. ROM, it doesn't exactly say ROM. It says GOM the Space Toaster.
The Space Toaster.
So what it is Christmas time, and we are in Clark Kent has gone into a department store, and of course everybody's gone crazy. And way up at the top of this rack is the last GOM Space Toaster action figure. And this guy, maybe a kid, is reaching for it with this other kid, and he's going, "Mine, back off." So as far as I know, that is the only time they depicted anything. If you look at it, though, however, that action figure is quite clearly ROM the Spaceknight.
Clearly ROM.
So as far
everything but the pieces of toast coming out of his head.
Yeah. As far as I know, this is the only time that ROM ever showed up in a DC comic book. So yes. I had to mention that.
That's a good one. That is definitely a good one. So good I have it. It's actually an honorable mention of mine as well.
Oh,
I love the whole jingle all the way reference that it basically makes.
Yeah.
All right, you've got another one.
I've got another one. Okay, I hope I didn't steal your other honorable mention.
I'm ready for some crossovers.
So, well, ROM-Pals, that's going to happen.
That's what's going to happen.
Okay, so my other honorable mention is from the Marvel Fumetti book.
Oh, that is a good one.
I was like, I'm sure you know this one. So all right, I guess I have to explain this. The Marvel Fumetti book was, they made comic books out of photos. And so it's basically the Marvel Bullpen, all the creators of Marvel with all these photos. And they throw in Spiderman and some other heroes through here. But anyway, basically they're doing a bunch of funny stuff, and they actually drew some art. There's some special effects that's drawn in over the photos, and they stick letter balloons on it and everything. So it's a comic, but it's photos. Unfortunately, it was published in 1984 on standard newsprint, and it turns out photos don't look great on standard newsprint. If they did this today, it would look a lot better. But anyway, so it's divided up into a whole bunch of segments. Some are like only a page long, some go a little longer. The one in question here is Breakfast in the Bullpen. It is written by Joe Aldello. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. And Vince Collada took the photos. And basically, they're doing breakfast. It's exactly what it says. They're doing breakfast in the bullpen. But Ron Zalm takes the last piece of toast from Rom's head. And
What?
so
Jerk.
I thought when this came out and I was like a young teen, I was like, they've got a ROM toaster in the bullpen. And eventually I realized, oh no, they used to do live action appearances of Marvel heroes.
Yes, they did.
And that included ROM Spaceknight somehow. So that what they did is they took the costume that they had created, that they were used, and they had it in the bullpen, and they just stuck a piece of bread in it.
Yep.
And had the guy pull it out for the photo.
And we know where at least one of those helmets ended up.
Yes, we do.
And that's with our probably one of, I don't know, I guess you would say most famed or revered ROM-Pals, Mr. Chris Ryall.
Yep.
It's prominently featured on his desk.
Yeah.
And
lucky so-and-so anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I try not to hate him for that, but he did bring ROM back into the universe for us.
There is no hate, just massive envy. That's all.
Massive envy. Like the green-eyed monster is definitely appearing, but it's very cool. And I was, as you know, I was so happy to have the opportunity to chrome a ROM for him, and he seemed to have liked it. I see it in pictures.
He mentioned it again earlier this year.
Yeah, he did. I missed that.
He did on Twitter. I asked him. I'm pretty sure.
I love me some Chris. He did so much for us. So that is Marvel Fumetti book number 1, which has a very cool cover with Stan Lee on it.
Yep.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Bill Mantlow's on that cover too.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. They have all the little pictures.
Yeah, he's down in the background.
Yeah. And they have their names and stars.
Yep.
Yes, that was a good one. Okay, so I guess then I only have one honorable mention that we haven't discussed already, which is totally fine with me because I did also like Action Comics 762. I thought it was very cool. But I am going to have to choose, and again, it's my show, so I can do kind of what I want to do. The fact that I'm going to say that even though it's not ROM, I'm going to say Onyx from Gabriel Rodriguez, Jay Fotos, and of course Chris Ryall wrote it, which is about as close to ROM as you could have without being ROM. And I want to say that it opened the door to allow IDW to bring ROM and the Dire Wraiths back. And it's a great, I mean, again, it's the guy who does Lock and Key. Chris Ryall writes a really interesting, compelling story set in like not pre-apocalyptic, starts in Nigeria. And this Onyx shows up to fight an alien entity that's corrupting all kinds of different life forms. It's really great. It's got a cool little like energy sword, and I just thought it was a very cool way to bring the essence of what a Space Knight was without calling it as such. The 4 issues, some great covers. IGN said that it was under the armor as a woman who may either save the Earth or destroy it, and you've got our money. So definitely pick it up. I think they produced it in a trade maybe last year or so.
Yeah, they reprinted it in
like
some
$10
form.
or something. I mean, it's a great deal. So if you've never caught it, I would say go out and find it. It's probably on the Image Comics. Well, it is on the Image Comics website. So buy it now and buy it often. You can also get it, I believe, in Kindle. So that is my honorable mention.
I'll allow it.
You'll allow? Oh, thank you.
your show.
I was worried. I was very worried. Okay, so we're now ready for the big list. Let me hear your number 5.
All right. Before I tell you my number 5, I want to make a prediction.
Okay. Oh, that's true. Sorry. Go right ahead.
I am 90% certain that my number 1 pick is on your list.
It is not. Oh, wait. Your number 1 is on my list. Yes.
My number 1 is on your list. I'm 90% certain that my number 1 is going to be somewhere on your list.
Okay. I'm 100% sure my number 1 is not on your list.
Yeah. Well, okay. I was going to say give you a 50-50 chance that your number 1 is my number 1, but now you're making me making me think maybe not.
I'm positive.
How obscure did you go?
Unless you lied to me.
Oh.
So we shall see.
Did you cheat? I think you cheated.
I didn't cheat. I interpret the rules as I see fit.
Okay, fine. All right. Oh, number 5. I guess we were talking about number 5, weren't we?
We were talking about number 5.
Number 5. So my number 5, and we can talk about it if you want to, but I'm just talking about the first. I got to count 1, 2, 3. The first 3 pages of Spaceknight's number 1 from limited series from 2000, published by Marvel. Jim Starlin wrote the script. Chris Batista did the plot and the pencils. Chip Wallace did the inks. Tom Chu and Illusion Art Studio did the colors, and Joe Babcock did the letters. So what those issues, and I'm not even going to hold this up for you. You know, I think you know this story. What these first 3 pages are. All right, so this is 2000. Marvel does not have the rights to do any more ROM, but they trademarked the word Spaceknight. So this is a way of saying, yep, Spaceknights, that's ours, because Parker Brothers' original trademark, which had expired at that point, was just for ROM.
Oh, okay.
They didn't include the word, and the toy was ROM the Spaceknight.
Okay.
Everything an individual word. Marvel published ROM Spaceknight. Spaceknight's one word, not 2 words. So, and there is a little, you can't see that. There is a little registered trademark there on that title. So this was their way to do that. And the interesting thing is, I have gone way. I said I wasn't going to talk about this. I'm sorry,
but you're doing it anyway, and I love it.
We're talking about ROM, and you've gotten me off on a tangent. So Chris Batista actually emailed me before this came out to let me know what was going on, because I run ROM Spaceknight Revisited. And at the time he had plotted this story and he was working on it, and Marvel Legal said, Spaceknights, I don't know we can publish something called Spaceknights or anywhere on the cover.
And why not?
And so I'm like, well, here, you could call them this or this. I gave him a whole bunch of options. Like, hey, you could call them any of these, all of which had knights in them. But then I didn't do any of this research about the trademark or anything until after it came out. And that's when I went, oh, sneaky. So anyway, back to the subject. Well, these first 3 pages, what they've done is Chris drew a 3-page recap of who is ROM and what did he do in all 75 issues of his story. So it's very high level, and it's done with this stained glass effect,
right,
on it to make it look like this. This is like mythology. I mean, they even give all right. And so what I like, so they still couldn't draw ROM. All the other Spaceknights, Marvel created those. Those are theirs now. But they still can't use ROM, but it's his story. So what Chris did is he just made ROM, all the other Spaceknights look like they're themselves, but ROM is just a white figure with the red glowing eyes and the medieval style halo behind his head.
Yeah.
And I just thought I just thought the art style he did for these first 3 pages was very, very cool. And then, of course, on the very last panel, he does show Rom in his human form, now with beard. He didn't have a beard the last time we saw him. Never had a
shaved
beard.
it for. Well, never mind. It might be on your list.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, he had a beard, and they call him the first one, which, well, that's what his name means. So yeah, okay. But anyway, I just thought this was a great idea on Batista's part. I got to show who Rom is, but I can't show Rom.
Yeah.
So I just really liked the way he did that.
No, I totally agree. That was an awesome choice. Your choice was awesome, but I mean, that was an awesome choice by him to be able to tell you who we're talking about without telling you who we're talking about.
Yeah.
Showing you who we're talking about. So yes, no, that's a great one. That is a great one. And I've gotten some of those signed. I met Starlin once. So I met Starlin once, and I did not have him sign a copy of Spaceknights, because when they sold it, Dynamic Forces did a set of him signing things. Oh, okay.
And I paid whatever outrageous fee it was to get one of those, and I'm not even sure if they sold them all. I think I've got number 35 or something like that.
Was it the 5 issue or was it the 3 issue?
No, it was the 5 issue. It was number one. It was the number 1 issue of the 5 issue limited series.
Okay. Yeah. Because if you're not in the know, which if you're listening to this one and you don't know about ROM, thank you.
Very much.
Very much. They reprinted it later on, but they took it from 5 issues down to 3 issues. So interesting stuff. All right. That's an excellent one. I am going to parry that one. I'm going to parry your number 5 with a number 3 that I am assuming, well, it might be on your list. I'm not sure. But I am talking about the follow-up to Earth X, Universe X, and number 3, in which we find Rom in his human form, stuck in limbo, using his neutralizer to fight off dire wraiths and other creatures who he may have put in there in limbo. So we've got an older Captain America and a young Marvel, and you sew up and you see Rom again with a beard, long hair, in human form, using his former torso of his robot or armor self as an actual shield. And I just thought it was really cool because nobody was expecting that. And I don't know quite how they did it, but it's obviously his armor. And just he ends up giving, if I'm not mistaken, he ends up giving Cap his neutralizer, so that they can use it later on. And it's just awesome. There's an image of Cap holding the neutralizer with his shield and this winged creature flying off. It obviously supposed to be an eagle, but just very, very cool. So that is going to be mine. Universe X number 3.
Maybe, I don't know. I'll give it. That was on my short list, but it did not make my list.
Okay.
So that I thought that was, I bought the Universe X series, and I thought that was cool too. And then I spent too much time thinking about it, and I was like, well, anyway. So it didn't make the final cut.
Okay.
But that's a cool pick. It was definitely cool that he showed up like that.
It was. I really enjoyed it. All right, so hit me up with your number 4.
My number 4. Would you believe that my number 4 is a lot like my number 5?
I would.
You would? Okay. So this is probably the most esoteric thing on my list. When you mentioned that they republished Space Knight, they took a 5-issue limited series and republished it in 2012 as a 3-issue limited series. So the first issue contains the first 2 issues of the original series. The second issue contains the 3 and 4, and the last issue was just number 5. Issue number 3 was number 5. Got that? Anyway, good. So on the last page of Space Knight's number 1, 2012, they're advertising Space Knight's number 2. And there's a picture of the cover for what originally was Space Knight's number 3 by Batista and somebody. I looked it up and nobody's 100% certain who the inker was, actually. So anyway, and there's a bunch of text on there, and over about a quarter of the page, there's the issue for Space Knight's number 2. And it's in this frame. Okay. And I didn't think I was like, that's cool. And I didn't think anything about it. And then I got an email from somebody that I can't find now, so I don't know who it was. Honorary ROM-Pal. I don't remember who pointed it out. If you take the bottom and the top of the frame have the decoration and they're mirror images of each other. Uh-huh. If you take that frame and you stretch it out,
no
you get
way.
A ROM bust. It's his eyes and his neck. His neck's a little too long when you stretch it out, and his chest plate. That's
what?
And I didn't notice. Somebody else noticed this and emailed me. Yeah, he's all squished.
Get out of here. I've never seen that. Wow.
I didn't either. I was like,
so did you order that?
I bought when they republished it. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to buy that again. I'm going to support if they're going to do Space Knights, I'll support it. So yeah, I bought the thing was I bought issue 1 and then my shop didn't get number 2 for some reason. I ended up with 1 and 3. I think I have number 2 now. I don't remember.
Yeah, because issue 2 is the cover for issue 3,
right,
of the 5. So you're saying they took the 3 and added that to the bottom of it, or is that part of the frame?
It's part of the frame.
Oh, okay.
It's only in this advertisement.
Oh,
the
okay,
issue,
I'm sorry.
Issue 2 does not look like that. It's only this advertisement.
I got you. I got you. Okay. That is cool.
That has that frame route. So this is only in the back of Space Knight's number 1 from 2012.
Never noticed that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't either. It was another ROM-Pal that had to say, hey. And I thought it was somebody, and I asked him, and he said, no, that wasn't me.
That's a good one, even though it's sort of the same as your number 5.
It's not, though.
It's not. It's not.
Uncredited Marvel artist did that.
Yes.
No idea whose idea that was. No idea if editorial knew they did that.
Was it maybe young Cub reporter artist Frank Miller?
I in 2012, I don't think so.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, going back to his roots,
sure,
so to speak. So, okay. So I guess now it's time for me to give you my number 4, and I'm definitely not biding my time at all.
No, of course not.
No,
why would you do that?
I don't know. Okay, so my number 4 is another appearance by the ROM toy, and it is Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man number 72. Yep.
Also on my short list.
Also on your short list, but didn't make the list.
But didn't make the list.
Okay. So this one is all about. There's not Otto Octavia. It was his nephew, I think.
I don't remember. His name was Ali Osnick.
Ollie Osnick. Okay.
I
Well,
don't
anyway,
remember
he
the
gets
relation.
Doc Ock's four-armed version, and he's going around in a toy store stealing stuff, and he grabs what is, without a doubt, the ROM toy. You can see G.I. Joe figures behind him, and in the bottom left-hand corner, you can see the of the box.
Mm.
And it's just a cool little reference, but it is right there. I mean, they're not calling it a toaster. They're not, seeing it from behind. It is right up front, and it is cool. And one of the reasons that this is so memorable to me is this Ed Hannigan painted cover on the comic book. I mean, it's got this Otto guy fighting Spider-Man underwater with one of the arms crashing through and breaking up the logo. I mean, it's just beautiful. It's just absolutely beautiful.
They did that a lot with Spectacular Spider-Man breaking the logo. They kept doing that.
Yeah. Hey, I got no problem with it.
No, it was cool.
It was cool. So that is going to be my number 4, Peter Parker 72.
Very nice. So like I said, also on my short list, and there's a similar thing that happened that I won't mention in case it happens to be on one of our lists. But my thought on that is he's in a toy store. He's very prominently grabbing Rom. You know, Rom's right there in the middle of the panel being grabbed by a Doc Ock tentacle. There's no doubt. But I don't have the date on that issue, but at the time I'm like, didn't they think Rom was a murdering robot from outer space at that time? So let's make a toy out of that.
Well, I mean, Cobra got their own toys. Oh, I forgot you're a communist and didn't read G.I. Joe, so never mind.
I'm not a dire wraith because
there's that.
I'm objecting to this.
I don't know.
Maybe the dire wraiths did the toy. No, that doesn't make sense because then people would like Rom. Never mind.
Well, no, maybe they put a hex on it, and so people who buy it, they would be signals to come and get. I don't know. Let's keep going.
We're going to come up with a ROM sequel here. Give us or prequel or something. I don't
know. Y'all listen now that ROM's back. Y'all listen to us. We're the ones to go to.
There you go.
So, okay. So, what is your number 3?
My number 3. So, my number 3 was another surprise for me. I'm looking at my list now. Yeah, I guess kind of pretty much. Well, no, they're cameos. I guess they're all kind of surprises. That's kind of the point. But yeah, this was an issue I bought new when it came out. And so it is Web of Spider-Man number 7. Peter David was the writer. Some guy named Sal Buscema was
Buscema?
Buscema.
Bosca? I don't know.
That our pal Sal was the penciler, which is what makes this so much sweeter. It's a ROM cameo penciled by Sal. Armando Gil did the inks, Bob Sharon did the colors, Phil Felix did the letters. So I don't remember for sure. So this all right, background. Sorry. I'll get my thoughts in order in a second. Background. Bill Mantlo, I don't know the exact timing. He had just done a bunch of stories leading up to Hulk number 300, where Nightmare Bruce Banner had integrated his personality into the Hulk's body, but he was having some issues, and it turned out Nightmare was behind it and was trying to use him to get at Doctor Strange, because it's all about Doctor Strange anyway. So in order, Bruce Banner in issue number 300 says, all right, I've had enough of this. You want the Hulk? I'll give you the Hulk. I'll become the Hulk in mind as well as body. And he gives himself over to his Hulk side in his mind. He is trapped in Nightmare's realm. Now who's trapped? Nightmare's trapped with a Hulk rampaging around. So cover number 7
has a
very big Hulk on it. And this is being written by Peter David before he took over Hulk. It says the Incredible Hulk has spotted Spider-Man. Cancel Christmas. So I think so. I'm guessing I saw this on the stand and went, Hulk's off in the Crossroads dimension. What did they do? So I opened it up, and there, right on page 1, behind naked Peter Parker talking to, I think it's Betty Brant. Yeah, Betty Brant.
I think it is Betty.
With the Thing's handing Wolverine a teacup. In the background, Captain America's at a typewriter, and sitting behind him is ROM.
You know what Cap is doing, right?
What is Cap doing?
He's writing the great American novel.
Okay. So it is just a tiny little squiggle, just about.
But it is awesome.
But Sal penciled ROM again. I have to think that Peter David did not specify that. I think he's just like, yeah, draw whatever, it's a dream. Draw whatever you want. So Peter Parker's caught in a dream because Nightmare's like, I need your help with this Hulk guy who's rampaging around my dimension. So he does not make any further appearances in the issue because it's a dream, so everything's constantly shifting.
Mm-hmm.
So none of the background characters, unless he's like talking to them, are really sticking around. So it's just a whole bunch of little cameos. But that one, I was like, so this is 1985. I'm like, Sal snuck ROM into an issue of Spider-Man. That's cool.
That is awesome.
So that is my number 3.
Okay, well, my number 3 actually just got mentioned a minute ago, but it is X-Men 187, in which the X-Men are at Forge's headquarters with a powerless Storm fighting off a horde of dire wraiths. And before this is probably one of my favorite iterations of the team. Well, I mean, when Storm had her power, but this group and the way that JR draws them, this is what I was reading. Yes, they're back in the day, they're completely different, but this is what I was reading, and this is the collection that I have up to around 210.
Yeah.
So in an effort to distract some of the dire wraiths, Forge quickly programs a hologram, and his holograms aren't hard light, I don't believe.
No, they're just regular old,
and then
regular old comic book holograms.
Regular old holograms. So there's a scene right after, I believe one of them tried to pierce Colossus's skin, and he ends up breaking it off and fighting. Anyway, that's a really cool scene. They're kind of losing the battle, and so Forge comes up real quick and he programs ROM and Brandy's Starshine, or I call her Starshine too, and they're like, "Hey, sisters, behold, the humans have summoned the Silver Spaceknight ROM and his paramour, Starshine." So that's it, and then they quickly find out that it's not real, and they're able to zap them and pretty much win the day, so they think, until the fabric of reality tears wide, and these creatures come in and they get them all. So really quick, one panel, that's it, but they actually draw ROM.
Yep.
And they say his name. I don't know how they got away with that.
I think they can get away with it as long as it's quick and brief.
Okay.
I just from my observations of all the cameos they ever do.
Mm-hmm.
I like Universe X, same thing. How'd they get, but they didn't ever name him in that one.
That's true. They didn't name him.
And also this came out at a time period when they're still publishing ROM too. So I don't know the particulars of the agreement, but I think probably mainly because they had just the rights to publish him. I think they didn't shy away from it as much then.
Yeah, and it had been quite a while.
But
by the way, I failed to mention, Rom gives him gives Captain America the neutralizer, and then like in the very next episode, Captain America tries to use it like on death.
Yeah, he's trying to banish death.
It blows it up, and I'm like, man, we just can't have nice things here, you know?
Yep.
Oh,
yep. So, that X-Men issue once again on my short list.
On your short list.
Didn't make the list, but it was on my short list.
I'm thinking that we've only had one crossover so far.
Yeah. So. We might mention that the reason Storm lost her powers is because Rom gave him his neutralizer to study. Forge created a neutralizer,
True.
And then Agent Gyrich decided to use it on a dirty mutant.
Yes.
And which was gonna be, was it Rogue he was aiming at?
I think he was aiming at Rogue, yes.
Yeah, and Storm jumped in, and so she's the one that lost her powers. So this was the issue after 186 was Life Death, which was a big double-sized issue. And then 187. Oh, and you do not mess with JR Jr.'s Dire Race. Those things are scary.
Oh my God. And that Barry Windsor Smith cover for 186 is just iconic.
Yes.
But no, you are so right. That he draws those Dire Wraiths, they're amazing,
Yeah.
And I love the fact, and excuse me if you were fixing to say this, but I love the fact that it's Rogue who comes back later on, because as we know from reading the comic, that when Rogue was with the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, they fought Rom and the Dire Wraiths, and after she touched him, and they had that bonding moment, or whatever you call it, she tried to absorb the powers. What she ended up absorbing was the
innate goodness.
Thank you. I couldn't quite put my finger on the innate goodness of Rom and how it felt good to do good. And you don't hear about this a lot, but that's one of the reasons that she started to go along the path to come back and be a good person.
Thank you for that lead in.
You're welcome.
Of what I was going to say. That works perfectly. Chris Claremont came to local convention a few years ago, and I'm like, what am I going to have Chris Claremont sign? Because I sporadically bought X-Men from like 180-ish to 200. And I'm like, I'm like, 187. There's a hologram of Rom in that. I'm going to have him sign that issue. So I had him sign that issue. And while he was doing that, I said, so did you and Bill Mantlo talk about this thing with Rogue and the goodness? And he said, no.
Really?
Like, no, that had nothing to do. And I'm like, after I walked away, I was like, well, you know what? It's a shared universe, so you're not in charge of everything.
Au contraire, mon ami.
Yeah, the fans have decided, and possibly subsequent. I don't know if they've ever actually said that in an issue, but it was most certainly there is that fan theory has gotten big legs.
Yeah, and I will say for sure that is one of the main reasons. I will. So, what does he know? He just
absolutely
wrote it.
Agree. Yeah. Well, no, he did. Well, yeah.
No, I mean he wrote
the Rogue story. Yeah.
Right.
The Rogue and X coming to X-Men. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so we are now down to your penultimate choice for this list.
I like penultimate choices.
I do. It's a fun word.
Well, I like the word. I don't like penultimate issues. Those are no fun.
No.
Although they're sometimes big tear-ups. Anyway, where were we? Number two.
Number two.
Dose.
Number two.
Yeah. So my number two, a lot like my number, what was it?
4 and 5?
One of my honorable mentions. Much like one of my honorable mentions is kind of a jam thing where there's a bunch of 1, 2, 3. Well, okay, maybe some. Anyway, it's a bunch of stuff. It's a double-sized issue, I think.
It's a veritable smorgasbord.
Yeah. So I'm talking about Marvel's 75th anniversary celebration.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1, because it was a one-shot. And on a page just before the halfway point, Written by Brian Michael Bendis, art by Alan Davis, Mark Farmer, and Rochelle Rosenberg. Is the licensed contest of champions. It is highly, what's the word? Redacted. It says all you can read is licensed contest of champions, and it says there's a post-it note that says call an actual lawyer. And then they stuck a bunch of black rectangles over all the characters, saying things like, is this even legal? No way. I don't know about this. And then there's one over this silver guy holding, you can see Rom's neutralizer. Yeah. That says, are you crazy? And down at the text, they've got red marker over all of it, where if you know the logos, you know what it says. It says Godzilla, King of Monsters versus Shogun Warriors, Super Pro versus ROM. Whose side are the Micronauts on? And I was like, oh, and this is, what year was this? I forgot to put the year down. It's 2014. And I was like, I don't think I flipped through this first. I think I just bought it. And then I'm going through and I was like, hey. So this another one is like, that was just, I can't believe they did this. And I found online Alan Davis. There is an actual drawing of all these characters. They actually did redact it, and you can find the original art online. I found it. I will send it to you.
I'll send that to me, because yes. So you know what I thought was going to be your number 2, and I am such a bad ROM pal for not knowing this, but I think you will. There is, at the end, in like the letters page, there's Brian Michael Bendis. I think it's on his desk or something as a folder. And it says something about bring back ROM, and there's a post-it note on it. Is that the same thing?
I don't know that one. No, yeah. I don't know.
It was when he was doing the Ultimates. I want to say it was in like a Marvel team up, Ultimate Marvel team up.
Yeah, but that has escaped my notice. Now I'm gonna have to go find that.
I will dig it up and let you know. But that's all it is. It's like a little post-it note sitting on, like somebody stuck it to his desk.
Okay.
Anyway, I'll find it and let you know.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, that one, I don't think, if somebody told me about that one at some point, I have completely forgotten it.
Making myself a note right now. And there's still a likelihood that I'll never do it, but it's written down. So, okay. So
when I email you these images, I will bug you about it.
You will bug me about it. That's fine. I will do that. So my number 2 is Marvel Team Up number 103. And
also on my short list.
Also on your short list. This is Spider-Man and Ant-Man taking on a Taskmaster, I believe. But of course, first of all, it's written by David Michelin. Jerry Bingham did the pencils, Mike Esposito with the inks, Diana Albers did the letters, and Bob Sharin did the colors. That didn't come out right. Bob Sharin did the colors. And in it, we find Scott Lang busily working on some cybernetic command something wires that he has to weld back together. And we know that whatever he's doing is going to help save the universe. And obviously, then we hear his little daughter yell out, "Dad, I'm home." So obviously he's working hard in like his basement laboratory. So luckily he's finally able to finish it. And as he crawls back up, there's an escape port, which is kind of weird, but he jumps out, and he had been working on his ROM figure.
Yeah. Her ROM figure.
Yeah.
His daughter's ROM figure.
That was just awesome. I mean, just awesome.
Yep.
totally didn't expect that, and bravo to them.
Although once again, I'm asking the same question: why are they making a ROM figure when?
Well,
Nobody
at this point,
was it? Okay.
It should have been determined that Rom was a good guy who helped save Earth.
Okay,
And rally all of the people behind him.
Okay, I didn't write down dates for that.
So yeah, I'm pretty sure at that point. But it's the same one that we know the Dire Wraiths had people make.
Now, shoot, I don't have those in front of me. I'm trying to remember. Maybe you can tell me if I'm remembering this right or not. As I recall, one of them, I think it's the Spectacular Spider-Man one, they drew the action figure like the action figure.
Right.
And then in the Marvel team-up issue, they drew the action figure to look like the comic book character.
No, in this one, in this one, he looks like, hold on,
like the toy.
Yeah, okay. It's definitely the Hasbro toy.
Okay, all right. I may have gotten it reversed.
Yeah, hold on. Let's see.
And I may be wrong entirely, but
yeah. Oh no. Oops, sorry, I was way too close to the mic. Oh no, you're right.
Oh, okay.
I never noticed that. But he does have the same 3 buttons on each side.
Yeah.
But he has what looks to be like his regular.
It's the head. The head's the telling part.
Yep, you're right. Man, I never noticed that. I was just too excited to see Rom.
Understandable.
I guess that means we are now at your number 1. Your absolute favorite of all times.
It is time for number 1. My number 1 is by a writer we've mentioned previously. I don't know any of the rest of the team. My number 1, which you're telling me is probably not your number 1. So which means it didn't make the list, which means I was wrong. Well, anyway, my number 1 is the Incredible Hulk number 418.
Love is in the air.
Yes, this is the Rick and Marlowe wedding issue, written by Peter David, pencils by Gary Frank, inks by Cam Smith, colors by Glennis Oliver, and letters by Joe Rosen. I don't have to tell you what's in this issue, right? You know this issue.
Oh, I know this one.
Yeah. So what
not just what, but also who.
Yeah. So what happened they've been leading up to Rick and Marlowe's wedding for a few issues of Incredible Hulk at this point. What happened at the end of number 417 turns out that the Impossible Man was sneaking around behind the scenes at Rick's bachelor party and thinks they got these invitations, but they're not inviting the important people. True. So the Impossible Man apparently goes throughout the entire Marvel universe and invites a bunch of superheroes and supervillains to Rick and Marlowe's wedding. And that includes Rom and Brandy.
Yes. The human,
yes. This is published in 1994. So we've been without Rom for 8 years? No, 7 years now. Something like that.
Yeah.
So so on page 14, about halfway through the point, Rick's talking to Ron from the New Mutants. That's Ron, R-A-H-N-E, not Ron. And this guy puts his hand on his shoulder and says, "Congratulations, Brandy and I are very happy for you." And Rick goes, "Cripes, Brandy and Rom," because he's never seen Rom.
Right,
not as a human. So this is Rom as he was depicted with the black or blue, maybe, shoulder length hair, and Brandy's in this little short black dress, and Rom's wearing a tux, I guess that's a blue tuxedo, or blue suit. Anyway, with a red boutonniere. So anyway, they get 4 panels of Rick reuniting with Rom and Brandy.
Yeah.
And he's like, how did you get here? And well, we got your invitation. He says, I just chalked it up to your getting it all the way to Galador, to the famed Jones resourcefulness. And then the next page, we're on the wedding with the bride coming down the aisle.
So do you think Reed sent the scroll ship for them?
I don't know. It's Galador. They've had a few years now. I suspect they've managed to revive some Galadorian technology. Those evil space knights couldn't have destroyed all of it.
Yeah, come on. That was a good pull, right? That was a good pull.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Kudos to you.
All right, that's a great one. And I knew that was, well, let me rephrase that. I was pretty certain that if you weren't doing an appearance from one of the Marvel ages, or if you weren't doing, what was the other one I was thinking of? The Contest of Champions, that I figured it must be Hulk.
So Contest of Champions was on my short list.
Yeah, that's a good one. Even though it's awesome. It's like Rom is macking on Jocasta.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, baby.
So what does that leave? So there are basically 2 or 3 issues left on my short list that we haven't mentioned yet.
Okay. So my number 1 is not on your short list or your long list because you already said that it was going to be here. So I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off. My number 1 favorite appearance of Rom outside of his 79 issues is the Marvel 2-in-199.
That's cheating.
No, it's not. No, it's not. You hampered yourself with this.
That's not.
I did
cameo.
not. It's a cameo in another whole comic book. It's a guest
cameo.
appearance.
That's a guest appearance. Guest appearance is not a cameo. But it's your show.
Let's go back. Thank you.
I'm not gonna yuck your yum.
You know the golden rule. It's my show.
Your show. Yep. I've listened to every episode except that one.
Except that one.
Sorry, that one I couldn't make it through.
Which one?
The best Saw moments.
Oh yeah, that's a good.
I haven't seen those, and so listening to you guys just describe them, I was like, nope, I'm out.
Nope, I'm done.
Made it through some of your other horror ones, but that one, nope.
So you know what was almost my number 1, and then we'll talk about 2-in-1 later. But almost my number 1.
It was the duck version of the action figure in Howard the Duck magazine number 6.
No, but also a very good one.
That was on my short list.
This is, if we did a list of Marvel of ROM villains, this villain would show up as one of my favorite, if not my favorite ROM villain.
A list of ROM villains.
Yes.
Meaning
like the bad guys in the
villains
comics.
That specifically villains, super villains in the Marvel universe that happen to fight ROM, or villains that specifically pretty much only fought ROM.
No, the first one. Just villains who showed up in the 79 issues.
Mad Thinker?
Nope.
No.
You get 3 chances.
I get 3 chances. Dang it, where's my list?
It was a big villain.
It was a big villain.
Big.
Ego the Living Planet.
No.
Oh, come on. Who's bigger than that?
All right, fine. This is bigger than a bread box, smaller than Ego the Living Planet.
Galactus.
No.
No?
It is the Shadow House.
Okay.
I don't know what it is about that. But Rom makes an appearance in Doctor Strange Sorcerer Supreme annual number 2 from 1992.
Yep.
And basically this demon who calls him the Kondo of Shadows.
Yep. It's his apprentice Rentra that's fighting him. Yeah.
And it comes back from ROM issue 5. I just love the fact that ROM fights a house. I mean, so basically ROM is the HOA. I don't know.
Yeah.
No,
but we've completely we've completely gotten off your number 1.
Completely gotten off my number 1. I will say again, I didn't put that on me because yes, truly it's not a cameo, but in the more loose interpretation, this is an appearance outside of the 79
loose.
issues.
Okay.
So I'll take
it is an appearance outside of the 79 issues. Yes, I will concede that point.
Okay, that's all I want. If only I could get my wife to concede that more often, that would be awesome.
Can't help you with that, sir.
No one can. So again, we've got Ben Grimm. It opens up, and it's again story written by Bill Mantlo.
Yep.
Ben Grimm is reading stories for a dark and stormy night on a dark and stormy night.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets spooked. And that is when, isn't this when, let's see, trying to remember. I know that the dire wraiths show up. Gosh, what's that?
There's a noise. Thing hears a noise. And he's like, yeah, the thing he hears a noise, and he's like, what the heck is that anyway? And I think it happens once, and then it happens again. He goes and investigates, and when he opens up the ceiling port to the Baxter building, ROM falls through, and he's blazing hot, and the rain is just evaporating off of him as it hits him.
Right.
Was that where you were trying to figure?
Yeah, that's where I was going.
Okay.
And it was but I think what I was trying to remember was I was looking up, I should say, was Bill Mantlo wrote it. Bob Hall did the pencils. Kevin Zubin did the inks. Rick Parker did the letters. Bob Sharon did the colors. I just love saying his name or singing it.
But John Byrne did that cover, right?
I think he did the cover, yes. So you're right. He gets up to the roof, and it is Rom, who had just gotten back from fighting in issue 25, I think it was.
They tell you what happened to Rom in a flashback in that issue.
Okay. That's right.
Yeah. So this issue was, I used to be part of the board of the Marvel Chronology Project. I don't know. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
Okay. So back when he first put it on a web, it started out as he was just, I'm going off on a tangent again. Sorry, this is what I do.
You go right ahead.
He started off, it was just a bunch of files for his own use. He posted them to Usenet. Everybody went, that's awesome. So you should put that on the web. So he put it on the web. And he was like, I need some help with this, guys. And so I had submitted mostly ROM stuff to him. He's like, hey, would you like to be on the board? And I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll be on the board. And then I had kids, and I went, yeah, no, I can't be on the board anymore. But anyway, this issue is a little hard to place chronologically, which is what you were working on, because this got published about the same time as Rom left the US and started his overseas adventures.
Okay.
So you have to work around mainly the Submariner's chronology, because he goes all, as he's crossing the Atlantic from the US to England, he encounters Submariner.
Right.
So you have to fit Contest of Champions, his appearance, Rom's, or both their appearances in Contest of Champions #1 around, and then Submariner's other appearances. It gets very, very messy when you're trying to sort it all out. I remember,
one might even say convoluted.
Yes, I remember coming up with some. I came up with something, and later I think that guy, I said it should go here, and then later it's like they changed it. So currently, the Chronology Project says that this happens right after Contest of Champions is over.
Which was after ROM 46.
No.
That's what your website says.
Well, then my website is out of date. Because it is. Anyway, so yeah, don't go by. That's why I had a link so you could go check the real thing. So yeah, so that is what I was trying. I guess really 46. I guess I had to put. Yeah, I think it got pushed way down there. They have changed it now. It is ROM number 33. Oh, Oh, this is even more fun. See, this is why I didn't. They say ROM number 33, pages 1 through 6 happen. Then we go off to ROM annual number 1. Then Contest of Champions, the entire Contest of Champions happens. Then Marvel 2-in-1 number 99 happens. Then we go back to ROM number 33, pages 7 through 22.
Oh my God.
I don't have ROM 33 in front of me, but I'm guessing it's like, there's a break in the story there. Like maybe the first 6 pages is what's going on in Claritin, and then setting the stage of what's going on with that little girl that her quote unquote aunt is the blind girl.
Yeah, there is I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. There is a time when she's like looking back, and you're seeing stuff with was it fake? It wasn't fake Steve. It was after Torpedo had been injured.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's what the chronology that's what the folks at the Chronology Project have come up with, and I have no reason to contradict them. They know what they're doing.
Yeah. So send me that link as well, because I was going off of your page. So that's what made it, for me.
Don't go off the page of the guy that has 4 kids and hasn't updated his page in a while. Sorry.
So anyway, it's right before what you were saying. This one goes before Submariner, but we'll go and see the original one. So I just loved it because, I always have a soft spot for the Thing. Get it? Soft spot for the Rocky thing. And he's just so lovable in this issue.
Yep.
And there's this great scene on page, I don't know, but after he and Rom talk, and it's page 7, and they've got what I call the commando hand clasp.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, righteous, dude, righteous. So the story goes on. I'm sorry, we get distracted. The story goes on that a bunch of dire wraiths have, the sorcery ones, have taken the Firefall, which was left vacant after Archie Stryker had been subdued by Rom, and they have animated it with some type of hellfire, whatever.
Black magic, whatever.
Yeah, magic. And that's what he gave a supernova strike that overwhelmed Rom and causing him to fall, of all places, on top of the Baxter building. So they go back to this.
It was a controlled descent.
Controlled descent. They go back to this castle in Central Park.
Yeah, I assume that's a thing. I've been to New York City once. I don't remember.
And Firefall shows up, and there's a big battle. And in the meantime, the Thing gets into the castle, Belvaberg, and goes up to fight the dire wraiths. And they put the whammy on him and turn him back. Well, first of all, they put the whammy on him and make him think that Rom is the bad guy.
Right.
And so they fight. And Rom's he's holding his own, but he decides, you know what? I could tell that he's been, so he puts the neutralizer on him. And not only does it neutralize the whammy that the dire wraiths put on him, but it changes him back to Ben Grimm.
Yeah, and Rom actually agonized over using the neutralizer on him because he was worried it was going to kill him.
Yes. But even so, as we know from the Yancey Street days, he's a brawler. So he starts taking them out one by one, even as a human.
Yep.
And it's like all the ones he's fighting, and then Rom puts the neutralizer on them, and they just turn to dust, to ash. And he's so happy that he's finally a man again. And then he turns back. He's like, no, I can't do this. I can't just be a man. I have to be and then he changes back on its own. So anyway, you get that classic, I'm shaking your hand and putting my hand on your shoulder because we're pals now. And that's it.
Yep.
That is my favorite appearance of ROM outside of his 79 issues.
Of them all, yeah, that's probably of all his guest appearances, yeah, that's probably, I'd put that. That's definitely one of my choices for like number one.
Yeah.
I could make an argument maybe another way, although I'd have to go back and reread some stuff.
And it's not that I don't like the Power Man and Iron Fist appearance.
Yeah,
because but this one is just checks all the boxes for me.